audience during that session. So essentially, today's session is largely looking at projects that have strived to get people to live with leopards, and reduce conflicts. And we have wonderful people who have worked on the ground to bring these to basically make this happen. We also have with us our moderator for today, Mr. Virat Singh, who's been a long time wildlife conservationist, I would say, and a journalist, because through his journalism, he's done a lot of work for wildlife conservation. So over to you, Virat.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to second day of this discussion that is been initiated by WTI. And just because it's living with leopards, I would read a very interesting a comment that I read from Jim Corbett. I mean, of course, from his book of Man-Eaters of Kumau. Though I would not agree with everything that he said in the books and otherwise, but basically he wrote a very nice line that it said that those who have never seen a leopard under favorable conditions in his natural surroundings can have no conception of the grace of movement and the beauty of the coloring of this, the most graceful and the most beautiful of all animals in our Indian jungles. This is how he described leopard, and I think this is what got most of us interested in leopards. And ever since I first spotted my leopard, first sighting that I did of a leopard, that it was almost going to hunt a sambar in the forest of Kana that I saw. I've been actually smitten by this beautiful creature. It's something unique. It's something different. It's a absolute survivor. So and it's also given the only fact that it's the only big cat that we have in Mumbai. The interest or understanding only increased for me when I started writing or talking about leopards in my journey. So I'm Virat Singh. I'm a former journalist. I've worked for 14 years. I've covered extensively environment and wildlife beats. And now I work as a communication strategist with Asar. It's a development startup. Having keen interest in wildlife, I continue to do my bit with it. And thanks WTI for this opportunity. So quickly, let us go straight. Let us head to the beautiful hills of Garhwal. Joining us from Uttarakhand today is Dr. Coco Rose. He is a 2010 IFS batch officer. He's also a veterinarian, and he's currently posted as DFO Tehri. He's been in Tehri for almost like 3.5 years, more than 3.5 years. This is his third posting, and it's quite important where he's working and what he's working. He'll himself tell us. My second speaker for the first session today is Sanjay Sondiji. He is basically a Dehradun-based naturalist who has been in conservation for several years now. He set up Titli Trust, and he's studying butterflies, birds, everything. He's also an author. So I would like to start the day, the proceedings. And my first question would be to Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose, welcome. I would just want you to tell us about Garhwal. Most of us have only heard about this beautiful landscape of Tehri Garhwal. How would you describe the landscape to give us a sense of people and the wildlife that exists? Dr. Rose?
Thank you, and good morning, Virat. Good morning, Soni Sahab, and all the others. I hope I'm audible. I just saw a message that my internet connection is unstable.
No, you're clear. I mean,
I hope I'm
clearly audible.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me here today. As introduced by Virat, my name is Coco, and I've been posted in Tehri for the last almost 4 years. People now joke that I'm going to beat the MLA, and maybe I'll complete a tenure like the MLAs here. So I've been here for almost 4 years, and we started the Living with Leopards program in Tehri in 2017. And the whole of my division, my jurisdiction lies in the middle and the outer Himalayas. And the altitudinal variation is almost like from 600 meters to almost 5,600 meters. And we also have glaciers in our division. And Tehri is famous for the Tehri hydroelectric dam. I'm sure many of you must have heard about it and the agitations that preceded its construction. It is at the confluence of two rivers, the Bilangna and the Bhagirathi River. I would like to share the image. I hope this is visible.
We can't see the screen yet.
Yeah,
You've just started sharing screen. So I think.
Yeah, it's visible.
It's visible. Huh? So this is a picture of the Tehri Dam. I think it is the most iconic thing here. And people identify Tehri with the Tehri Dam. And it's, as I said, it's at the confluence of two rivers, the Bhagirathi and the Bilangna River. Both of them are glacial rivers. The Bhagirathi has its origins in the Gangotri Glacier in the neighboring Uttarkashi district. And the Bilangna River has its origins in the Khatling Glacier, which is part of my jurisdiction and in the Tehri Garhwal district. It's about, the Khatling Glacier is about 29 kilometers trek from the last village. It's a very beautiful trek, and the whole of my jurisdiction is mountainous. And how do I move to the next image?
Dr. Rose, you can just click neck or the green arrow on the top. The left and right arrows on the top.
Left and right arrows.
Or you can just do the left and right cursor and it will move.
Okay. So this is an image of angling, catch and release angling in the reservoir here of the Tehri Dam. Quite a sport, many people come for it. Unfortunately, it's banned now. So as far as vegetation is concerned, cheer pine is a major vegetation from altitude almost 1,000 to 1,900 meters. It is also vilified as the cause of forest fires by many people. And above the tree pine zone, we also have the Deodar oak rhododendron forest. And we also have bugyals. The bugyals are high altitude meadows. I'm sure many people who love to trek, who have visited Uttarakhand and Himachal must be aware about places like this. And this is the Pawanikata bugyal in my jurisdiction. It is on the boundary between Rudraprayag and Tehri district. And it's also a pilgrims trail. People climb up to the bugyal and then descend into the Kedarnath valley, which is a 4 days trek. Being a mountainous area, every valley has some river or a perennial or a seasonal stream. And as far as life here is concerned, villages are scattered like in most hill states. We also have the issue of aspirational migration, people moving down to the plains. So I'm sure many of you must have read about ghost villages in Uttarakhand. In several districts, there are people, the villages where almost everyone has moved out. We have a similar situation here, and it is not uncommon to go into a village and find mostly children, women, senior citizens, and very few able-aged, young people in the 20s and 30s. So we have that issue here, like in the other hill states. There are many villages which are yet to be connected by roads. Electricity, thankfully, has reached almost all the villages. But there are so many villages, still many villages where people have to trek several kilometers to reach the villages. So you can imagine the hardship that people have to face, people sick, or women about to deliver, people having to go to school. So we have such issues here. And our department is often, we often have to face a bit of resentment from people because they see us as a hindrance to, accessibility and all because of the forest land transfer cases. And agriculture and animal husbandry continue to be the mainstay in the villages, although the land holdings are small. And here, wheat is one of the major crop, along with rice and pulses and other seasonal vegetables. We have a huge issue of crop depredation by wildlife. I'm sure it's common in many other states. And it is one of the major factor that affects our, it erodes the goodwill that we try to build up with people. And I just wanted to show you, this is a trek to the Bugyal, this is the Khatling Glacier. I just wanted to show you a typical Garhwali house in the hills here, Garhwali Kumaoni. If you see, there are two stories here, the ground floor and the first floor. The traditional houses, people house their animals, the livestock and fodder stores in the ground floor, and the family lives usually on the first floor. And you can see that the toilet is detached from the main plinth. It's on the terrace below the main house, and this is a typical house that you will find in the hills here. I couldn't zoom out the photo here. Otherwise, you see that the other fields, the terraces above are already abandoned. So this was also from a village where most of the people have already left the village. And it is often said that the people continuing to stay in the villages are people without any means to go down. They do not have relatives in the towns. So there are people which people say majburi se reh raha hai, because they are compelled to. As far as wildlife is concerned here, most of our conflict arises from leopard attacks, Himalayan black bear, wild pig, and very rarely snakes. But crop depredation because of wild pigs has become such a big issue that every public meeting without exemption, we face a lot of public music because of this issue. And there is a lot of dependency on forest for fodder, fuel wood, and you can see here women carrying oak leaves, branch leaves for fodder. This is a leopard that has removed the slates that of a goshala. It had entered the goshala and killed 2 cows. And just last week in Dudupiak, I think a leopard entered a goshala and killed more than 20 goats. So these are not uncommon. We have many cases like this. And the program that we are running here is called Living with Leopards. And the basic idea is that living with leopards is not an option. If you were to come to Tehri or maybe places in Uttarakhand and ask people, ki leopard kahan milta hai, or where can I see a leopard? The usual answer is, it is everywhere. Sabhi jagah mein hai. Evening mein aap niklo mil jayega aapko. So it's very common. I just wanted to show some images to give you a perspective of what it means. This is from a village in Akhori. It's under my jurisdiction. And we were having a meeting that day with the local representatives. And this was a dog that was just lying near us, sitting near us. And you can see the metal collar on its neck. It has spikes. So this is usually, farmers usually keep dogs like this to take care of the herd and also to warn them of any wild animal presence. And if any leopard dares to go for this dog, it's going to get injured. And I don't know, I think it may be counterproductive also. It may injure the leopard and cause more havoc for the community. This is a case from near my residence, Bonabagi village, where a leopard entered a toilet and a dog also, it was after the dog and entered. The owner, he closed the door. And luckily nothing happened to the dog. And the local media named the dog Bahubali and said that this is the first dog that has survived. This is the first leopard that has survived an encounter with a dog.
Have you all taught the dog also living with leopards?
I think the leopard has to learn how to live with dogs. So, and this photo is from my residence only. I took it from my window, bedroom window. This was in 2017. There's a leopard in the middle of the screen, in the middle of the picture. Just to give a perspective, how closely we live and we share the same space with leopards. This is a sort of graphic because of clutch wire. I say that agriculture and animal husbandry continues to be the mainstay here. There is a lot of resentment because of crop damage. And so farmers usually use clutch wire to set up traps. It can also be for wild pig meat, but many a times leopards get entangled in such contraptions, and that photo was of a leopard that had got trapped in such a clutch wire, and it must have carried it for quite some time because it was really the wound was very grievous, and it couldn't survive the injuries. This was another one in which again we cannot see the other side, or otherwise there was a deep cut on the other side. And this is a leopard that killed a buffalo, and it fell under the weight of the buffalo. We had to rescue it. This was also near our headquarters only. This is a photo of a leopard with a clutch wire at the abdomen. You can see the dark line. This is the most common way people try to discourage animals from entering the fields. We have a lot of complaints of animals, leopard sightings near villages, and our staff have to often go and camp in such villages to build public confidence, to instruct people about safety. And the terrain is such that it's often difficult. We have very few staff as of today. But these are conditions in which our staff and watchers have to work. This is another photo of a Goshala in which a leopard entered. So basically, that's so much about our landscape and our day-to-day interactions with leopard. Yeah, Viren?
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. It was a lovely journey that you took us through, and also seeing all these images. I'm sure we all who are stuck in our houses were all wanting to go to the hills. I mean, it was almost those beautiful pictures thing. So next question would be to Mr. Sondi. Sir, while we are talking about all this, so how did this whole Maharashtra, because there was this project that even Dr. Rose mentioned about living with leopards. So how did it start? How did the Maharashtra Uttarakhand Joint Forest Department project start? If you could guide us through that.
So Virat, actually this the collaboration between Uttarakhand and Maharashtra goes back a very long time. Actually, this whole project started in Uttarakhand in, I think, 2012. Dr. Vidya Athraya, who's an old friend, had been working on leopard conflict in Maharashtra and other states for a long time. And on one of her visits to Dehradun, she said, look, why don't you guys, we were also working on human-wildlife conflict in Uttarakhand. She said, why don't you take up the leopard is the most serious issue. So basically between 2013 and 2015, we did a 3-year social survey. And this whole thing culminated in Kalagarh in April 2016, where we got everybody who matters in the Uttarakhand Forest Department, from Chief Wildlife Warden downwards. There were about 30 people. And we presented our results. And it was obviously a very fairy meeting, because a lot of things that we were saying, old foresters says, are you saying that we don't know what we are doing, that everything that we've done in the last 30 years, is it incorrect? And very fortunately for that meeting, what we had done is that we had got, Vidya was present for the meeting, and Lemay from the forest department was also present in the meeting. And we had a very heated meeting. We presented our results. There was a lot of discussion. And at the end of it, Mr. Lemay turned around and said, asked the people in the room, said, listen, you guys have been doing the same thing for 30 years in Uttarakhand. Nothing has worked. The conflict is only increasing. We have tried different things in Maharashtra. It has worked. So why don't you guys try something different? So actually, and everybody sat down for a minute and said, yeah, what he's saying is true. So basically, I think that was really the turning point. It helped that Dr. Dhananjay Mohan and Mr. Lemay were, same batchmates from IFS. So there was a connect between them as well. And that's how this whole project took off. And it was not a quick thing. There were lots of little steps. We did the first thing that we did was we did an exposure tour where we took 20 people, maybe 7 or 8 people from the forest department and an equal number from the local community to Maharashtra for a week. We took them to SGNP, we took them to Junnar. And at the end of the exposure visit, we had another wrap-up, we had another planning meeting with the Forest Department. And eventually we decided that we'll do 2 pilots. We'll do one in Pauri and one in Tehri. And the Maharashtra Forest Department was very gracious to say that whatever help you need, we are there with you. And I think the Uttarakhand Forest Department was equally open about the fact that we are open to learn. So I think there was a lot of willingness from both ends. I think Coco being at Tehri was a huge advantage for us. Support from Dr. Dhananjay Mohan at at the head office when he was in the Chief Wildlife Warden's office. So a lot of things fell into place, which is people liked what we were saying. They were supporting people at all ends, at the head office in Uttarakhand, in the field in Uttarakhand, and of course Maharashtra Forest Department was always helping. So I think all of this put together resulted in a project where we all in 2016 we decided to actually launch a collaborative project for Pauri and Tehri, these 2 sites. Hope that helps.
Yeah. Ms. Ondi, you were telling us about, this whole openness to learning and, how a lot of officers played a big role in this thing. Uttarakhand as such is not very well known for having these collaborations. Forest Department doesn't have so many collaborations with a lot of organizations. So Mr. Soni, I would like to know that, it's always said that, collaborations, and increasingly we are seeing in today's time that collaborations are the key to success actually. So with this, Uttarakhand Forest Department has been having these multiple, collaborations with several organizations, Forest Department, media as well. Is this something new? Has it helped? I would just want to know from you.
I would say that, I'm completely with you that the traditional response of not just the Uttarakhand Forest Department, but even other forest departments in the country is that we know it all. What can anybody else teach us? I think what is changing is that a lot of the younger officers are open. And in this particular project, so for example, we had WCS and Titli Trust as the 2 NGOs here. We had SGNP for Mumbaikars in Bombay. We had the Maharashtra Forest Department. We had media representatives such as you. And everybody was more than willing, saying, let's just focus on the problem and whether we can resolve it, rather than, getting into egos, who's in the lead. And I think it was a great lesson to be learned that, nobody was trying to take credit. Everyone was focused on trying to ensure that we can actually mitigate the problem. And I think success breeds success. The effort that Coco put in at Tehri is recognized throughout the state in Uttarakhand and maybe outside as well. And a lot of, I would say this is credit to the Tehri Forest Division, that a lot of forest divisions have approached us in the last 12 months and said, can you repeat what you have done at Tehri in our place? I think that is the surest recognition that people are recognizing that collaborations work.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And Dr. Rose, Sanjay Sondiji is giving you a lot of credit on initiating this whole collaboration and working in a great way. So what is your input on this collaboration? How would you assess the whole collaboration, or what kind of credit would you give to this collaboration that has been working?
Thank you, Mr. Sondi, for the very kind words. I'm thankful that we are lucky also that we got a very passionate team under Mr. Sondi, and he used his resources, his other contacts also to help us. And although the department has been collaborating with other agencies in other areas, for example, watershed, livelihood issues, but I think it is true that when it comes to man-animal conflict, I think this must be the first, because I have just about 7-8 years of service experience, and I haven't heard of other areas in Uttarakhand where such a collaboration has happened. When we started, we are always very guarded about other organizations, coming and telling us, and that's it is very true with many of our old staff also. For example, if you were to say about community engagement, they would say, "Ye to hum pehle se hi kar raha tha," and like we have been always doing this. So you get that kind of response. And in fact, one of the biggest learning, this whole exercise was that when we started, me and my staff, the forest staff. We thought we would be educating and preparing people for resolving conflict and all. But I think last night also I kept thinking about it, and I think the biggest people who needed to learn was us, me, my staff. And even today, I think that's the biggest challenge for us, that how to keep this, how to escape inertia, the urge to go back to what used to be. So we need collaborations, because there are great work that has been done in other states. There are organizations that tie up with so many other organizations. They're able to pool resources. Sometimes we are bogged down by so many other activities at the district level. I think our traditional forest department activities are a thing of the past. We are now part of so many committees, so many things, and sometimes we get bogged down. So collaborations help us also to reach out to other people, to access best practices from other states and other organizations. And particularly with Tehri Trust, I think they have been like facilitators to us, linkage with other organizations, and even as prompters. Many a times we, like I said, that inertia, we tend to go back to Aram Se Wala. So they have prompted us, and I give credit to Tehri Trust and its sister organizations for enabling us and nurturing and helping us to grow in this aspect. So collaborations, of course, are very important. We couldn't have done this without the collaborative effort.
Dr. Rose, I'm really glad you're making this point, because I mean, collaboration is what I think what will help all, I mean, different parts of the country which is facing conflict now. So that's a very key aspect that you mentioned. You were talking about community engagement. As we've been always, I mean, whenever we've been talking, you've always been saying that community engagement will be the key to, you know, managing human wildlife conflict in whichever part of the country it is. And but talking specifically about Tehri, while I would like to know that how did or why did the forest department decide in Tehri, you know, to focus on community engagement, I would also like to ask that, you know, there is this general feeling among in the minds of people, especially if they are uniformed force or something like that, that, you know, how can we go and talk to people? You know, there is all this power games also. So I would want to know more from you on why did you decide to focus on community engagement and how has it benefited?
I think it helps to have an informed and vigilant community. And when we, you know, when the collaboration between the Uttarakhand Forest Department and the Maharashtra Forest Department started, there were talks about how the Maharashtra Forest Department has done splendidly well in a high leopard density landscape. And, you know, when the talk started and the meeting started, we came to realize that there was a very strong focus on community engagement. And like I said, if you were to ask people here, they would say we have been doing that. But many a times our community engagement here, you know, it tends to be a response, a reaction to an incident. And there was no, you know, the focused attention, the consistency that is required. Because I believe today, all our efforts at community engagement are aimed at developing habits. And habits are, you know, behaviors repeated over time. And so consistency, that repeated effort, that repeated hammering of communication points, that is very important. And so here, another thing was that the communities bear the brunt of all this conflict, and that is why it was also the least cost, you know, the medium that would incur the least cost instead
least cost intervention, you're saying.
Yeah, and it's like a peacetime effort. You know, it would be very poor sense of timing to engage people at after conflict, tell them about their roles or mera role ya aapka role ya, you know, you would get beaten up. So I think the peacetime role, peacetime engagement, that is something very important, and that has really made a difference here in our district. Under the Living with Leopards program, we had three components. One was the department skill building, and initially that was I think almost restricted to, equipping the team and, how to use the equipment. But beyond that, if we are to reach the community, the first and foremost is our foot soldiers who have to reach out to community. So before going and telling the community what to do or kyun hota hai ye cheeze, it was important that we equip our own team to pass that message on. And so before going to community, first was ourselves, preparing ourselves to reach them. And in that, we collated experiences from all our staff. And after a lot of deliberations with Titli and Vidya Atreya was also there, officers from the Maharashtra department who also contributed their experiences. And we came up with like 4 themes of communication. So the 4 themes of communication, like leopard behavior. The second was myths associated with leopards. The third point of communication was habits that may predispose you to conflict. And the fourth was situations or circumstances around your home or your neighborhood that may concentrate leopard activity near your homes. So over the course of the last 2-3 years, we kind of concretized the message that we need to communicate to people. Otherwise, kabhi staff jate hai, they cover 2 points, forget the third point. So that sort of thing, we wanted to avoid that. So community engagement, because we are not always able to, find time, or it is not always able to gather people together. So jab bhi jate hai, it is important that we communicate all the points and do it as repeatedly, as frequently as possible. So as far as how it has benefited us, 2019 was the first year in which we had 0 deaths and 0 injuries of human by leopards. I think we checked data up to going back to the last 20 years, and last year was the first year. And I often get asked, has it been a success? And I feel guarded, I think it's too early to tell. But yes, the numbers are very encouraging. And I tell staff also that I remind them that this is the data. And it means that what we are doing somewhere is bearing fruit. And we need to keep doing this. So I think at the heart of it, all the tools, equipment, all those things come later. The basic is community engagement and working together.
Thanks, Dr. Rose. That was a very interesting answer. Sanjay ji, I would want to know from you. You were talking about Tehri as a success story. Also, other places you all are trying this. Is there a place where you're still finding it hard to, grip that place perfectly? Is there a place where you're finding? Is there some struggle? Would you want to talk about it?
So I think the single biggest, I don't say it's a struggle yet, but we foresee this being an issue going forward, which is, the fact is that we actually selected 2 sites to work on, 2 pilot projects, one in Pauri and one in Tehri. The Pauri one failed and the Tehri one was successful, right? The lessons learned from one success and one failure is that if we want this to succeed in the long term, we have to find a way of institutionalizing what we are doing. Because if Coco is there in Tehri, it's going to work. He shifts somewhere else. He'll probably take the same lessons elsewhere. But what happens when a new person comes? So one of the things that we are trying very hard to do now is trying to work with the Chief Wildlife Warden's office and with other forest divisions to see whether we can embed this, the Tehri success story into other forest divisions such that, all the things that Coco said, which is moving from reactive to proactive, preparing ourselves through rapid response teams, building forest department capacity, involving, engaging with the community. I mean, none of this is rocket science. But once this starts becoming second nature to all the forest departments, because it is part of their plans, it is part of their management plans, I mean, then we can truly say that we have been able to make a success of what we've done in Tehri elsewhere in the state.
Thanks. Also, Dr. Rose was mentioning that, you know, it's all about working with people. I mean, that is going to be the key, because I'm sure how much ever we would not be able to explain the leopards, not, to manage how to manage conflict. But so, Dr. Rose, I would like to know from you the challenges that you all are facing in this landscape, because the landscape that you are showing is not an easy one to manage, as much as I can see from here. It's a hilly terrain. It's difficult. Still, in 2019, you all had such a big success. But I would also want you to tell us about the challenges that you face in this landscape in mitigating human-leopard conflict.
Again, I feel the biggest challenge is maintaining that tempo, keeping the josh high among my own team. That is the biggest challenge for us. And just now, Mr. Sondi has also pointed out about institutionalizing. Often when we have our, the regular orientations of our quick response team, I often get this feeling from staff, and some openly share with me that sir, ye aapke jaane ke baad ye khatam ho jayega. And that's a very self-defeating attitude, a very it makes me sad also, but they speak from experience. I'm so sorry to say, but they also speak from experience. They have seen it happen with so many other things. And that is why sometimes I tell them that don't look at this as a project that has a timeline that is going to end after 1-2 years. See it as part of your daily activity. And what is helping us, fortunately, is that now we have younger range officers coming in, and hopefully our recruitment of younger staff also will be happening very soon, because we really need the younger lot to provide institutional continuity. The force may change, but the range officers should continue this efforts. Another is, yes, you mentioned the landscape, and accessibility is a serious issue here. Meeting people where they are is very important. Today I function with less than 50% staff, and out of which I think 80% and above must be 50 plus. So maintaining that level of motivation sometimes becomes a very big issue. We try to overcome that, by starting this school outreach program, because that way we are able to reach out to children. And in our staff meetings, we always say that each children equals one family. So we tell the children that you go and share this message with your parents, with your siblings, with your relatives, over dinner, over lunch, talk about it, talk about this issue. I think that is one way we have been able to multiply our reach. It is very difficult to go to a village and find people during the daytime. Most of them are in the fields, going about their daily work. So it's not easy to meet people in this terrain, and to go so far and then to find people away from the village can be demotivating for staff also. So the school outreach program has been particularly helpful, because on any school going day, my staff can go and be assured that he'll find an audience. And many a times we have also, I've met the district education officer who has told me about my staff going to the schools. And they were quite happy, because very few officers visit. I think there are many places where no one must have visited them. So that's good for us and for them also. Another challenge that we have is the crop deprecation issue. I really do not know how to, what solution we can find for that, but that's one of the biggest issues that really erodes the goodwill that we try to build with people, with the community here. And with regard to crop depredation, if we check our office records, there'll be hardly any records of complaints or ex gratia disbursed, compensation disbursed, because the process itself is a little cumbersome. You have to have the revenue officials, forest officials to go and survey and all that. So nobody wants to get into that. So although there are a lot of complaints, there are no records or numbers or area affected, those data with us to substantiate. And I remember 2017, there was a little bit of ex gratia that we disbursed to people, and they came and returned it to our office. Ki ye jo hai, ab 3 saal ke baad de raha hai, and that too only this much. That is really discouraging for people, and sometimes for our staff also who tell me that hum meeting mein gaya tha, but they are not willing to listen, or they say this, and we have no answer to that. So these are some challenges on the field that we face. Another is the solid waste management problem in the villages. Villages don't have a system, they don't have a municipal organization or somebody to take care of their waste. So it becomes a free for all. Everyone is, jaga jaga mein phaila raha hai apne kuda. That's a challenge that we have. I've talked with the district magistrate and the other officials also, but this is something that is, I think, going to remain this problem. What we are doing right now to overcome that is to tell villages that instead of having your waste in 10 places in the villages, have it concentrated at one or two places and avoid such places, or keep it away from the village. Otherwise, if you have it at 10 places, you are going to diffuse the activity of stray animals. Uske saath saath jo hai, leopard jo hai, moving about 10 locations in the village. So that is one way in which we are trying to address this problem, but a permanent solution is still, I think, far away. And again, the major challenge is that sense to go back to inertia. I think that's the biggest challenge. Nothing, our own defeatist attitude, that is what we need to overcome. Lucky, I think community is always receptive when we go to them at peacetime.
Thanks so much, sir. Sanjay ji, in your absolute straightforward nature that you have, I would want you to tell me that what would be the advice that you'll give to these. I mean, you've been talking a lot about young forest department officials, be it IFS or be it RFOs or young guys who are coming in. So what would be your ideal advice to these guys who come in this place where suddenly they join and they realize that, oh my God, there's so much conflict out here? What is your advice?
So I think, this was actually a question that was, we had taken two groups of forest officers to Maharashtra in December last year and in February this year. And during both these sessions, Lemay sir from Maharashtra was asked this question, and the answer that he gave was, I think, very meaningful and very motivating for everybody. And what Lemay, and these were mostly young people, mostly young, young foresters who were there. And basically, Lemay sir told the team that if you're in the forest department, everything is about belief. If you believe that there is something that you should do it. It doesn't matter what your boss says. It doesn't matter what your boss's boss says. If you think it is the right thing to do it. Sometimes, you don't need to make a big racket about what you're doing, but you should do it. And the fact is that, and in a sense, it mirrors what Coco is saying, that if you have the belief, if you have the empathy, if you are energized sufficiently, then all the other issues don't really matter. Of course, there need to be a lot of other things that need to fall in place. You need to be open to learning. You need to be open to collaboration. You need to be able to learn from other people's successes. You need to be able to learn from other people's failures. But these are, I think, just all good management practices that are applied everywhere. But if all of these are applied along with empathy and energy, I think, mitigating human-wildlife conflict in not just Uttarakhand, but across the country is not necessarily such a difficult task. I mean, we are very, very fortunate that we live in a country where local communities, both urban and rural, are already very empathetic towards nature. So given that background, I think, it's not something that is very difficult to do.
Thank you so much, Sanjay ji. Lemay, sir, that continuously the name that is coming in, he's now the APCCF in Maharashtra, in Mumbai, Gorai area. He was the CCF when the Mumbai's project started. So just to give that background. Dr. Rose, I mean, whatever, on the same question that I asked Sanjay ji on young, advice to the IFS officers or RFOs, young RFOs coming in. I mean, I know that you're due for promotion, you'd be due for transfer, you'd be moving out soon out of Tehri very soon. What would be your advice? Because this will also sum up in a way that a young officer goes into some place and how does he manage a situation. What would be your 2 or 3 advice that you would want to give it to the next officer who's going to come in Tehri?
Thank you. I'm so happy that Mr. Sondi used the word empathy. And because, when I saw this question, I have the first answer marked 1, empathy. And I'm so happy that he used it because I thought I would sound like pontificating yahan pe. So I'm so glad he also agrees and he used that word. Because I think if there is empathy, many other things will fall into place. So my advice to our young officers and even to my staff, in fact, even to whoever replaces me here, would be to be empathetic to the community here. For instance, we have so many cases of livestock kills, and sometimes because of the remoteness, our government order says that a person has to report in written to the range office within 48 hours. It is not always possible for them to do that because of the remoteness, because of our shortage of staff also. And sometimes even despite knowing that कि ये genuine है, our staff कभी-कभी ये होता है कि it has already exceeded the time limit. So I always tell staff we have to be sympathetic, empathetic, we have to understand them. And when we are convinced that this case is genuine, we should ensure that they get whatever is due to them. And that facilitatory attitude, I think all of us, our young officers and on the field, should adopt. Another is we need to work with other departments, and many times, again, in our seen that many people, hesitate to work with other departments, or I don't know, maybe there is nothing demeaning in working with other people or approaching for help, appealing for assistance. We should never step back from that. It's a multi-sectoral issue, sectoral problem. There are other departments who can contribute. Solid waste management, it could be lighting, and even law and order issues when incidents happen. So we should not shy away from working with other departments. Another is public leaders have a huge role to play here. And recently in Uttarakhand, there was the 3-tier panchayat elections and new Gram Pradhans have been elected. They are trained by the district administration, orienting them towards the different government schemes. And what we did here was we took time in such meetings because the district administration is organizing them, and they're coming in one platform, 60, 70 of them in different blocks. So we just took around 10 to 15 minutes. Our staff went there. We told our staff, briefed our staff that you go and tell them about the immense role that they have to build public advocacy for wildlife and related issues. And that's what we did here, although all the trainings could not happen because of the COVID, but wherever it happened, our staff went and just took maybe barely 10 to 15 minutes to tell them that you have a very important role to play. You have to tell people this. And that thing we impressed upon them. And whenever any public leader comes to my office, I always think they may come for a road or other related issues, but I always make it a point to just discuss about has there been any livestock depredation cases recently, or did you see a leopard there? Just by way of conversation. And I always talk about this and tell them to take care of the children in the evenings, be careful about this, that. And I think we need to keep that engagement open through all means. So we have here, like before the fire season officially starts around 15 February here in Uttarakhand. So we have a lot of meetings between December, Jan, Feb. So I told my staff that, see, every meeting, make it and take the opportunity to talk about this issue also. A fire ke liye baat kar rahe the, you talk about plantation, you talk about less use of plastics, or plastic ban. Talk about wildlife also. Not restricting yourself to a single issue, because there are not many opportunities to meet people in a gathering like this. So we have taken every opportunity to talk about this issue. And like I said, it's not a project that has a timeline, that has an ending. It's something that we need to continue doing, because we want to develop habits in people, habits of self-preservation, habits of keeping our surroundings clean and protecting our families. So again, because it's about developing a habit, it is something that we need to do continually. So officers, young officers, whoever comes in to replace me or to others, I would just say that keep it going, keep the Josh high, apne team go, and yeah, I'm sure that whatever we do, it will be a fruit.
Thank you so much, Sanjay ji. Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. I think empathy and engage is something that we take. We get this is the takeaway message that that you all both have very strongly put across. So this is amazing, and this was a lovely conversation. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. We now move on to the second session, which is Mumbaikars for SGNP, changing Mumbai's perception towards its leopards. We move to that session. I would like to. Also, people who are putting in their questions, I'll just like to inform that once all the three sessions are over, that is the point that we'll take the question answers. So now I would request Dr. Jitendra Ramgaonkar and Snowy, who are next panelists, who will be coming and discussing the Mumbai's example. Dr. Ramgaonkar and Snowy, are you all there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Great. Yes. Okay. So to introduce the next two panelists, Dr. Jitendra Ramgaonkar is a 2006 Indian Forest Services batch officer. He also is he has a master's in veterinarian science, and he's currently posted as the DCF from Mayuk. I think Dr. Ramgaonkar is having some issue. If you could just resolve that. So Dr. Ramgaonkar is currently posted as the DCF in Thane Territorial Division, which is managing a lot of conflict happening in and around Mumbai. He also recently in 2019 he was given the Arun Boringwar Public Service Excellence Award for his contribution to economic development of creating employment for the tribal youths in Gondia, where he was working. Our second speaker is Snowy Baptista. Snowy has been a project coordinator with the Mumbaikars for SGNP. What is Mumbaikars for SGNP? We'll hear it from her straight away. She's been a project coordinator here since 2015. She's a master's in sociology. And she's been taking a lot of keen interest in ensuring that to engage, to be the perfect a kind of an SGNP has been playing this role of being the perfect a perfect agent between forest department as well as the community in Mumbai. Has any issues with whether it's leopard sighting or a conflict, the team goes out. So welcome Dr. Ramgaonkar and Snowy. Dr. Ramgaonkar, my first question would be directly to you. When we talk about Mumbai, there is a different kind of wildlife that we talk about. So tell us actually about the actual wildlife of Mumbai from the jungles. Also, the challenges that you all face working in Mumbai, because earlier when Coco was talking about, he was talking about a complete different geography, a complete different terrain, which consists of a lot of villages and all. But here in Mumbai, it's completely different. You're dealing with a complete different set of people. So what is the challenges that you all face? Also the pressures that you and your team face, if you could just round that up.
Yeah, thank you, Virat, for this opportunity. Yeah, everybody has its own impressions about Mumbai. Being a metropolitan city, people have different images of Mumbai in their mind. But contrary to public perception, there is a lot of in Mumbai area. Mumbai is not only a city. It is, if you take Mumbai and its suburb, it has got good amount of wildlife, good amount of forest, and in the city of Mumbai there is a national park called Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So obviously that is the major forest that is there in Mumbai. But in surrounding areas also, be it Thane, be it towards Palghar, Vasai, there are a lot of forested patches which inhabit a lot of wildlife. And leopards, of course, being the magnificent species, and it takes most of the spotlight. But forest department also is involved in managing other wildlife, rescuing wildlife, be it birds, then be it snakes, crocodiles, then monkeys, and a lot of wildlife that is illegally traded in this area. So all these are part of issues for the forest department, and most of its wildlife is commonly known, but there are some rare animals also in this area. For managing this wildlife, particularly with other wildlife, like as I just mentioned, we have issue of rescuing them. But with regards to leopard, there is a specific set of challenges that we face, particularly because leopard, being a territorial animal, moves outside the national park area, and there are some patches which has continuity with the national park. So that is the areas where the leopard is mostly moving. And considering that the area is highly populated and towards all the sides of the national park, so leopard encounters among the people who are living in the surrounding areas, be it in the housing society, be it in the slum, be it in the park and outside the park. So that people, chances of people encountering a leopard, like sighting a leopard, I would not call it as a encounter, but it's sighting a leopards are high in certain areas. And um, change the landscape. Like if you see, there are number of housing projects that have come up in surrounding areas, which are high rises. Then there are factories, there are industrial installments. So the landscape has been completely changed. Like it is not that leopard is going out of national park area and entering into another forest. It's a completely different landscape that the leopard has to manage. So it has challenges for the leopard as well as the authorities who are interested with protecting the animal. Then there are challenges with regards to managing in the case of say any incident of leopards staying away into the human habitation. Then there is a lot of onlookers that gather. Then there is a media that we need to educate. Then a large number of public representatives are there in this area. So whenever an incident happens, it becomes a challenge to carry out the operation as smoothly as possible and without any errors, because uh, preventing human casualty in this landscape is very difficult. But that is the foremost and most important thing which we have to ensure at any cost. So it becomes a challenge to extract the animal from the area where it is trapped, and without any casualties and without any injuries to any human being. Then there is a challenge of say there are people who are not very well informed about the issue. So whenever leopard is sighted, the direct sighting is anyway very rare. But in recent times, all the housing societies, be it any other industrial installment, they have got cameras, CCTVs for their security purposes. So animals are being spotted in that. So that is not the case in the other parts of the country where mostly rural areas are there and these kind of things are not there. But here, even if the leopard comes and goes and nobody sees the animal, it is recorded in the CCTVs and cameras, and later on people see it and they get panicked afterward, and they circulate it in the social media and spread that misinformation. That has become another set of challenge for us to counter that and to educate these people that just a sighting of the animal, just the animal visiting that area does not mean that you are in danger or the people are in danger. And to convince people that mere sighting of a leopard is not a conflict. It is just a normal behavior of the animal, because we need to make people aware that this area is a normal surrounding for leopard. Leopard is bound to stray away. It is not that national park has got a watertight boundary and leopard does not recognize that. If there is a continuity of habitat, be it whatever may be the legal status of that land, whatever may be the institutions around that, leopard does not recognize that and it strays. So that we take sometimes it is hard for us to convince people about these facts. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Snowy, now the most important part of what actually changed the narrative or the perspective over a period of time, it started in 2011. I would want to know from you that explain us Mumbaikars for SGNP project, explain it to the audience. And yeah, then there's a following question that I would, once you explain this, I would like to ask Dr. Ramgaonkar. We can't hear you. Are you mute? No, can't hear you, Snowy. No.
Snowy, can you just speak directly into your laptop or phone? Disconnect the headphones, maybe.
I think we'll have to unmute her.
No, I think she's not muted.
No.
No.
I guess she's on mute then.
Yeah, I also had the same problem. I think you'll have to unmute her.
No, she's unmuted.
No, we can't hear you. We're just checking if there's now you have to unmute now. You're on mute right now. Okay, again you're on mute. Yeah, now say something. No, we can't hear you. Mayuk, anything that you can check?
Mayuk, I think
Okay,
sometimes
now
it happens with the system. If she can restart her system, I think that will be.
Can you just log out and log in again quickly, Snowy? Can you just leave the meeting and then rejoin quickly? And just say log in with your audio.
Meanwhile, Dr. Ramgaonkar, since you said about the whole Mumbai aspect, is it actually very difficult to explain people about the whole I mean the wildlife in Mumbai, because there's also a sense of perception that there is not much wildlife around here. So do you think it's difficult to explain people, and what are you all doing to explain people? In short, if you could just reply till Snowy comes back.
See, people have to understand that this area is not an area which can be isolated from the national park. Mainly for the.
Hello.
Should I continue or stop?
No, please continue.
Yeah. So people need to understand that the areas, particularly having direct sightings of animals or movement of animals, particularly surrounding the national park, that area is not something which can be isolated from the national park. Animals are bound to move in that area. But sometimes people just get surprised at the sighting of the leopard. Actually, they should not get surprised, rather feel happy that the animal is using that area as a territory. And it is beneficial for even people in that area. A lot of people who are educated, who know the importance of animals in that area, they enjoy that. But some people, they do not realize this fact and get started or panic just at the sight of the animal. So that becomes a challenge to convince these people that they are part of the landscape. Their housing societies or the installations of industry, they are also part of the landscape. And over the period of time, leopards have become used to that, and they are successfully using this area as a natural area for movement. And there are reports, studies have confirmed that the animals have bred in those areas, animals have even successfully raised their cubs in those areas. So it is a challenge to convince, but I think over the period of time, people are slowly realizing this fact and cooperating with the vision that the forest department has in this area.
Yes. Snowy, are you back?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yippee. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So just to repeat my question, we would want to know from you about Mumbaikars for SGNP project. How did it start? About everything about Mumbaikars for SGNP project.
So MFSGNP started in 2011. basically we started to understand human leopard interaction and mitigate conflict. So in 2011 it started with research understanding uh, the issues in the peripheral areas. It recorded the census of leopards, prey density, and after a year of understanding research very well, the following year intervention started with the help of awareness programs, with the help of communicating with the different stakeholders. So now, of course, the most important stakeholder here are residents, the people who are living around the park. Talking to them, helping them understand. So whatever information we understood, we got from the research was then shared with shared with residents, and helping them understand the biodiversity they are living around, helping them understand SGNP as a national park as a whole, and the wildlife they are living with, in fact. So that's where we started, and then we also understood that this is not a one-man show. Forest department had to collaborate with different stakeholders, like Dr. Ramgaonkar was saying that during in a crisis situation, where if a leopard is stuck in a particular place, given the density of Mumbai in the peripheral area, the density is almost 21,000 per square feet per kilometer, sorry. So you have thousands of people coming. Now, forest department doesn't have that manpower. Go to the police, and their role would be mob control. Going to the fire department and seeing how they can contribute. So for all of this, like I think someone mentioned it earlier, that proactive awareness, proactive engagement was very important to help people understand their role. Once people know what their role is, so when we are be quick response. So for people to know their role, engaging with them in advance makes a lot of difference. Moreover, MFSGNP has been there for a decade now. So it's not that we engage with them once. It's repeated sessions after say couple years with police and fire department especially. And what has happened with the project is that we are learning patterns and practices that are related with human leopard interaction, and
Snowy, there's again some problem with your audio. Mayuk, can you hear her?
No, Virat, she's not audible.
Yeah. I think Snowy, there's some issue. Yeah. Okay. So while
is
Snowy,
it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so proactive effort made a lot of difference. Another important point is the engaging with schools and colleges around the national park. So RA is one area which is very close to the national park. It's almost it is a part of the national park. So these students are coming from areas where they have to pass forests. Even just not them, but even other schools which may not be immediately next to the national park, but a little further, helping the students understand biodiversity around them. And this interaction with them created a new paradigm in human nature relation. It also encourages them to explore their passions and interests in environment. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Snowy. Dr. Ramgaonkar, I think this project was already on when you joined the Thane Territorial Division as the DCF. What was your idea, perspective, or how did you feel about this project when you joined in? What were your basically initial feelings about the whole project? Dr. Ramgaonkar? Dr. Ramgaonkar, could you hear me?
I think his internet's sort of his internet is disrupted. I think, Virat. Can you just continue with Snowy maybe?
Oh, okay. I will. It's raining very heavily in entire Mumbai and Thane area, I guess. I hope it has nothing to do with. Okay. So Snowy, when you're talking about this whole project, when it started in 2011, how did the project roll out actually? If you could just give a little detail. So how did it initiate, in the sense there were multiple parts of it, there was education and stuff. So if you could just give a little detail about it. Wait, I think we've lost your voice again. No, we can't hear you. I guess there's some issue. Would you unplug your headphone and stuff? No.
I think there's a problem with the computer jack. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, now we can hear you. No, sorry, that was
Join the audio.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sir, we can hear you. Dr. Ramgaonkar?
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Ramgaonkar? Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So I'll just sorry. I'll just repeat my question. Snowy described the whole part of Mumbaikars for SGNP project. What I would like to know is, when you took over as DCF, this project was already underway.
Yeah.
What were your initial feelings about this project? How did you see it? So I think, is there any other device near you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the computer and it's on YouTube, so that's the same.
Yeah, whenever someone joins in a place where there is any kind of conflict.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. I think there's a lot of background noise. Am I right, Ragini?
I think both his computer, his YouTube, if the YouTube is also running on his computer, you can use that.
Okay.
Yeah, now.
I think it is better now.
No, there is. No, sir. Is there any chance you also view? Is there some live YouTube or something on? I think could be that.
Yeah, I disconnected.
Yeah, now perfect. Now perfect.
Phone call that was.
No, it's perfect.
Now we can hear you perfect.
So, see, it's always whenever there is an area of conflict, particularly with regards to wildlife, and you join in certain place, that place, then it is obviously a biggest challenge for you to manage. But it was kind of a pleasant surprise that the program of Mumbaikars for SGNP has been running in this area for a long time, and I had the opportunity to interact with them and actually learn from them how they have over the years developed that program. So it was kind of a learning experience for me. And over the period of time, I realized that this program has played a very crucial role in managing the conflict in this area and creating awareness in the numerous housing societies around the national park, which actually face the a problem of leopard moving in their area. So I interacted with volunteers, which are very dedicated volunteers for Mumbaikars for SGNP, and there are other volunteers also that help forest department in monitoring the movement of the animals. Even they conduct camera trap exercises with us and help us continuously keep track of the animals movement in this area. So it was a very good experience working with them, and we actually tried to just build on the experience that they have gained and extend this experience
to other areas of Thane division. Like there is a conflict area in Murbad in Thane. There are other areas also like Kalyan, Ambernath, which has occasionally faced this problem. So we try to leverage on their experience and extend this outreach to those areas as well. And Snowy would confirm that they have had a lot of sessions in those areas also, and they have been received quite well um, from the people there. And it has also shown good results in other areas. So I have actually been fortunate to have them collaborate with the forest department and learn from them. And hopefully this program will go on for a long time. It has become an integral part of the kind of solution that we have. It is not, we cannot call it a solution as such at this moment, but whatever equilibrium we have been able to achieve, Mumbaikars for SGNP has been an integral part of it.
I think so. Again, Dr. Ramgokar, what you're saying is working with people is the key. I mean, how do you build the community around it? Doesn't only mean that the people living around the forest, but also organizations, people, media, everyone working together with them will be the key. I've been covering this whole issue as a journalist earlier. I also seen that you all have developed your own protocol over a period of time. You know, be it there's a different protocol if there is a leopard sighting. There's also a different protocol when there is a human leopard conflict incident, which we've seen numerous times. Could you tell us more about that? And in fact, I would also like you to give the example that we recently saw, wherein there was a leopard sighting in IIT. So how did you all, and it was during the lockdown period also. So how did you all manage that? So first, to answer about the protocol that you all have developed over a period of time.
See, over the period of time, we have kind of moved from incidence-based reactive kind of response to a process-based continuous and proactive response. Like there is a incidence of leopard attacking somebody, and then you go there and manage that situation. It's a totally different. But when you continuously work with those people, continuously engage with those people, and make them aware about the issues that they are likely to face, then it makes a whole lot of difference. So we have moved to the strategy where we have a continuous engagement with the community living around the national park and areas where there is a likelihood of leopard movement. So we have kind of earmarked certain areas which are high risk zones, be it RA colony, then there are some tribal hamlets, then there are some housing societies which share the boundary with the national park. Then there are certain other areas also which are forested, and there is a high likelihood of leopard being sighted and the area being used by the leopard. So these earmarked areas, though they are having dense population, but though these areas are having dense population, but we have been able to engage with them, and we have been able to monitor the movement in those areas as well. With the help of volunteers, we have been fortunate enough to have. There are passionate people from the communities, from the journalism area as well, and some other volunteers also who want to help the government manage this particular area of conflict. So we have been able to monitor the animals pretty continuously. We keep on getting the pictures of animals in camera traps. Then we keep on matching those pictures with the animals that we have in the national park, and just guess a likely route of movement and likely area of movement of the animals. Then it is regular awareness sessions in those areas is a key, which is being managed by Mumbaikars for SGNP, Forest Department, and other volunteers in that area. So conflict is only when the animal attacks somebody, or it is found in certain area where it should not be found, it is trapped somewhere. So other than those cases, we consider it is a normal, you can say a normal behavior of leopard to be sighted in certain areas, and in certain areas where it should not be sighted. So whenever an animal is sighted somewhere where it should not be, like there is a area which is far from the national park, just like we had a leopard cub in a kindergarten in Andheri. So that is where it should not be. So in such cases, we activate a different kind of protocol, and in certain areas where we know that leopard is moving, leopard is being sighted, it's normal to sight the leopard. So we have a different kind of protocol. Then over the period of time, we have worked on reducing our response time to incidents of leopard sighting also and leopard conflict also. So we have kind of first responders. Suppose there is any sighting or any incident or conflict in any area. So we have certain people who act as a first responders, who are basically from that particular area, and they are in touch with the forest department. Whenever we get a message, those are people are alerted, and they are the first ones to reach there. Then our team reaches, and we have good coordination with the SGNP team also. So whenever any kind of conflict happens, so entire machinery of forest department, be it a wildlife or be it a territorial division, they work in tandem, they work in concert with each other and reach the spot as soon as possible, so that the issue does not go out of hand. Then particularly in Mumbai, there are a lot of agencies that we need to coordinate with. Entire area is a municipal corporation area. There are agencies like fire brigade, there are agencies like police department, there are other agencies also. We have to coordinate, inform whenever such things happen. And our first priority in any conflict situation is to avoid any human casualty at any cost. So that is the principle on which every agency works. And uh, most important part of this operations, we have learned over the period of time. The researchers also have helped us in reaching this understanding that whenever we capture an animal from certain area, since we have very little forest area in Mumbai, and we cannot take a leopard and release in some other area. So we try to release the animal back in its natural territory, be it as close to the area from where it has been captured. So that is the most important thing that I would like to highlight here, because researchers also highlighted that if you capture an animal and release it in some other area, then it may create more problems than it is solving. So over the period of time, this thing has worked, and we have done several rescue operations here, and the animals have been released in the same territory. And we have observed that thereafter, very rarely the animal gets into trouble a second time.
About the IIT thing that I mentioned, I would now, because you said a very important thing, I would just like to now rephrase my question. I think pre 2011, I mean, before this project began, the as you said, it was more reactive. I mean, had a leopard been sighted in, say, an IIT or XYZ location, the immediate response probably would have been, grab the leopard. But now I'm seeing a very different approach when there is a sighting of a leopard in a place like IIT. If you could now talk about it in detail.
Yeah, see, there are a lot of institutions around the national park. IIT is one of them, and it is and a lot of institutes have good green patches, which is being used traditionally by leopards since decades or maybe hundreds of years. So it is wrong to say that whenever an animal is found in that institute, it's a conflict. Animal does not recognize the boundaries of the institution or any legal boundaries that may be there, but animal just follows its territory, which he has been following over the decades and over the years. So what we try to make these institutions understand is that leopard is moving in its natural territory. It has been in its territory for hundreds of years, and we have created some artificial barriers for its movement, but it has overcome those barriers and trying to reclaim or trying to reuse the area in whatever way leopard can. Obviously, the movement of the leopard is reduced in this area because of the disturbance, but it is not that the movement has become come to zero. It can never be, because the animals are there. It has got its instinct, and they are going to move. So with regards to IIT incidents, IIT always had leopards. There is evidence that even before 1980s, recorded evidence I'm talking about, there were leopards. And recently also we have evidence that the leopard has used this as a breeding ground also. It has given birth to a cub. So it would become improper to say that leopard is in a alien territory when it is going to an institute like IIT, which is very close and sharing the boundaries with the national park. So we have tried to make these things make people understand these things, and try to communicate that sighting of leopard is not a conflict in these areas, because these areas are traditionally leopard areas. They have been moving in these areas. So sighting is not a conflict. In case you have some deviant kind of behavior, the animal gets trapped into certain area, certain building, or has a violent conflict with the human being, then only it would be appropriate to call it a conflict. Till that time, animal has been peacefully living in this area. Leopards have been using this area peacefully, and not a single conflict has happened in this area.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramgavkar. I think a very crucial point that you've not only explained us over a period of time that we've been working together, but also to people, is that mere sighting of a leopard is not a conflict. I think this is the message you all have also somewhere, driven to the other stakeholders. Now, I'd like to ask Snowy that under this project, you have not only involved community, but you're also working very closely with, the media, the BMC, the police. And I think somewhere this is what you all are trying to tell people, that just a sighting is not a conflict. It has also helped change the whole reportage over a period of time. So, tell us about this, involving and training specifically these different stakeholders like media, BMC, and police.
So, can you hear me now? I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
So the key strength of the project is involvement with the stakeholders, engaging with them. So what has happened is, like you said, with the stakeholders, it was localized. The project was localized. Ownership was localized. So it's all our project, everybody working to one issue. And it also gave a broad-based support. So not just manpower, like I was talking about police, it also it also helped sustain the efforts that were going on with the project, because it efforts from different people, from different organizations are coming to us. And media, like you were saying, media has played a very important role, because media also amplify our reach. While we have sessions around the park, around the periphery and everything, the media are the people who can reach out to common public. So that is very important, and they also provide feedback. I think you have very well known what happened over the years with the project is that communication was open, and over the years it was smoother. So if the media, if they have a report, or if we have information, communicating with them over the years has become so much better, so much simpler. And also identifying potential risk areas. So if there is any kind of sighting or any kind of reports from an area, with the help of media, we can help reach out to them, and also vice versa. Media has helped to change the entire narrative of human-leopard interaction in Bombay. So from conflict to now coexistence, which is a very important point over here. So responsible and sensitive reporting is what is highlighted with the media in Bombay, and we've had workshop for this, and that has been practiced. So that is very crucial.
Dr. Ramgavkar, forest department across India who come to Mumbai also to study or to learn about it, they always find it interesting that how can you work so well with media? In short, if you could just explain why is it been so nice, or why is it been so easy to work with media?
Yeah, sharing of information openly is the key to it. I think from the beginning, forest department realized that unless media is taken into confidence, the message is not going to reach to the intended level, to the community which are we want to reach. So I think the project MSc, NFS, GNP also, and media outreach also has been very old in this landscape. People have my predecessors and people working with the wildlife. Sri Sunil Limer sir is there. So all these people have worked relentlessly to communicate and establish a linkage between with media, an open link with the media, so that information is shared openly and the media is sensitized towards not sensationalizing things, but putting it in a right perspective. Both sides are put to the people, and uh, a kind of solution, coexistence, kind of solutions towards coexistence is uh, a part of a message wherever media reports such things about leopard. So that has consistently been followed, and media has helped a lot in communicating this message to larger public that coexistence is the only solution in this landscape. And whenever forest department has reached out to media with a message, that message has effectively been communicated, and over the period of time the kind of reporting has been very you can say sensationalization has been reduced quite a lot, and fact-based and educating kind of messaging has been consistently followed by media. So that is one reason I think it has worked really well.
Snowy, if you all when you all take sessions, I mean, also when this whole project started, 2011 it started when Mr. Sunil Lemay was the CCF at Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Most of the times, I mean, in fact, earlier also Dr. Coco Rosia mentioned the same thing, that at times, actually Sanjay Sondi also mentioned the same thing, that at times a project starts and ends with an officer. Okay, 2011, Sunil Lemay sir came in and he started the project, but it's still continuing in 2020. We see, and I'm sure the way it's going on, I mean, it'll keep continuing. So, what is the key factor there? What do you think is responsible for it to continue even after? I mean, post an officer.
Basic factor, localization of the ownership. What we also did was documentation. So when Mr. Lemay was there, all the activities they were documented very well. We were trying to create relationships with other stakeholders. So when the next CCF came, he saw the benefits, the advantages of how the activities are going on, the outreach. So the department also has to be given due credit, because they have very well recognized the benefits that are reaped because of this project, and they have helped nurture it over time. So that is very important. So it was easy to appreciate that this project has to be institutionalized in a way. And one other very important factor is public participation. So the project, like volunteers of the project, are all local, are Mumbaikars, are citizens. So in a way, what happens is that we don't have just volunteers who are working with wildlife or the environment. We have people working from different fields. We have people working from IT field. We have someone who's just a resident. So all of these people coming together and functioning is more sustained. And also, they definitely now they are getting different skills to the project. So it's not that we are limiting involvement in any way. So that is one advantage. With regards to structure, now even though there's a free flow of officers as well as volunteers, there is a full-time coordinator. So the coordinator here will help. The flow of information is very important. So coordinating between with departments, having activities structured in a way. So this is one role that has to be permanent to a large extent. And of course, the rest of the stakeholders are always involved. Now what we are doing is also reaching out through social media and technology, which is helping us generate, spread the word more and generate more volunteers, more interest. So some people are just helping us online, not necessarily they are working on field, but they are doing desk work. That's important. So we've got, and yeah, definitely now people, once they join, volunteers, once they join, there's a lot of learning during their participation on field understanding, and after a year or something they've picked up the idea. So they are learning through their participation. So we've got new insights, and it has also helped us change certain patterns and practices to understand and better manage human leopard interaction here. So yes, and another important factor is also that with coordination with different stakeholders, they also need credited because it's overcoming a lot of challenges to engage with each other. A lot of racism and bureaucracy. So all of this has overcome over time. And we also been, while dealing with the police or dealing with the BMC department, we've already done that previously. So over time, this has helped us smooth relationships.
Yeah, Virat, I would like
Thank
to
you.
add a point here.
Please, sir.
Yeah, the important aspect has also been that this entire outreach program has been very science-based. So a lot of research has gone into it, and it has been periodically incorporated in the messages. See, the people who are communicating with are very educated people. They cannot just take your word as a final word. So every day, everybody is being questioned. So whatever you say has to be backed with a sound science. So over the period of time, whatever science has gone into it, and researchers have worked. Dr. Vidya Atre has worked. There is a researcher in the national park, Mr. Nikit is there, and there are a lot of volunteers who do this exercise on and on. So this thing has gone really into developing a clearer understanding with the volunteers also. And whenever they share the message, it is always science based. So they can answer the questions logically to people, and it becomes more convincing. So that is one more reason that this effort has been quite successful.
Amazing. My last question would be for this session. Yeah, please, no, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wanted to add is like Sir was just telling us that we are sharing scientific data with them. What is important is also that these people, what we developed awareness material. So can you please share the poster, Mayuk? Developing these materials is something that the people could then take back. With the help of our research, we developed all this understanding the issues in the area. So giving this to the people, help awareness material, help reaching out is better with some material that we have. Mayuk, could you also now show the images of the sessions, please? So these are a few sessions that we've had with different stakeholders. Mayuk? Okay.
Okay, till Mayuk starts sharing the screen, I'll. So, Dr. Amgaonkar, my question to you was that basically, again, new IFS officers coming in at DCF level, at other levels, RFO level, what would your advice for them be? Because again, you all train a lot of forest officials coming from across India. What would your advice be to all these officers when it comes to handling conflict?
Yeah. You see, the kind of proportion that this problem of man-animal conflict has reached in this country, I think the forest officer working at every level has been working on this problem. I think it's not a new thing for anybody, but definitely in some places we take it as a fringe activity because there are so many things to do. As in earlier session, Mr. Koko also pointed out that sometimes people get bogged down with so many other things to be done. But I would like to just highlight here that we should never take it as a fringe activity, because considering the level of conflict, rising population, destruction of habitat, so it's going to be a new normal for everybody to have this conflict in their area. Wherever you are working, I don't think any forest officer can stay immune to the problem of man-animal conflict, because there are going to be animals and there are going to be people. So coexistence and different strategies to achieve that have to be mainstreamed into forest departments working. And wherever you work, you have to take it as a central work of your job profile. And then only you will be able to attach required importance to this thing, and you can learn new things, you can involve new stakeholders. It's never a job of one agency. You have to involve multiple stakeholders, multiple agencies, and reach as many people as possible. So that is the only way to go forward. We have to take everybody into confidence, public representatives also, because they are also very important stakeholders in this. So unless you take this everybody into confidence, you cannot arrive at a common consensus program, which is of coexistence, a peaceful coexistence, and the strategies that go into it. So those things, if they have to work, everybody has to support it. Any one agency backing out can hamper this program. So my advice would be to take it everywhere as a central theme of working, and involve as many stakeholders as possible, work them, understand new perspectives which has been there from the research, and incorporate it timely into our strategies, so that we don't work on a unscientific way. So if we can just follow these things, I think this problem we can tackle. We can have a peaceful coexistence with our wildlife.
Thanks so much. So also, it's very important that, always managing leopard or this conflict thing is thought to be a work of the wildlife department in that sense, but here you are from territorial, but I think you end up handling more of the whole conflict, cases. So that's also very interesting. So it's very important that whether it's for a wildlife division or a territorial division, I think for the staff will be must. I think you would agree to that, Dr. Ramgaonkar.
Yeah, no, I think everybody has to work together, and particularly if you take example of Mumbai, I think wildlife department and territorial department has been working in great coordination, and pooling resources whenever such things happen, whenever incidents happens, and all the outreach programs, we are together in this. So I think that is the way it has worked so far, and I think that is the way forward as well.
Yes. So from this session, I think the key takeaways from what I see from Mumbaikars for SGNP or the whole Mumbai project as such is basically it's very important to have a science-based project, a science-based work to start with. Then identifying important stakeholders as both Snowy and Dr. Ramgaonkar mentioned. Training media is very key, is a very absolutely important aspect, because they will be the people who will amplify the work, or when they start reporting about it, it makes a huge difference. And I think the most key aspect will be making this project, or making any project, a people's project, because wherein a person without any incentive feels that he can come and join and work towards this. So with that note, thank you so much, Dr. Ramgaonkar. Thank you so much, Snowy, for this lovely session. And we managed to also all the tech glitches we overcame that as true Mumbaikars. So that's amazing. Now from Mumbai, so we started with Tehri Garhwal. We moved to Mumbai, and now we move to Rajasthan. Of course, Rajasthan is in news lately because of so many things, but what we now have is a project that is going on in Jalana. It's one of the first leopard reserves in the country. The session third is called Leopard Human Coexistence in Jalana, Hope and Beyond. Hope and Beyond is an organization that is working here. We have two speakers from Rajasthan, Joy Gardner. He's basically the chairman of Hope and Beyond. He specializes in ethology and rehabilitation of wildlife animals. Hope and Beyond has been working in the issue of mitigating human-wildlife conflict in Rajasthan. We also have with Joy Nakul Singh Parihar, who's been working in the field of conservation for last 15 years. His specialization is basically big cats and raptors. So welcome, Joy and Nakul. Are you all here? Good. Do I see Nakul?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can. Hi. So all the questions that for previous session will also be taken at the end. So we start the conversation here. So let me directly go to Joy here. So Joy, tell us more about Jalana. We all hear a lot about it from different aspects, but leopard are the key. So tell us more about Jalana. Tell us about its people. Tell us about the leopard, and also, of course, the whole conflict which we keep hearing about. Joy, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Now.
So, Jalana is basically a reserve forest, and area of Jalana is very small. It's only 23 square kilometers. So, I just want to share my screen. Is it okay? Visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, this is the map of Jalana and Nahargarh Wildlife Sanctuary. These are the two forests where we have started our project. This project name was Project Part of Conservation. It was in association with WTI, David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation. So, as you can see, there is human settlement in every part of Jalana, like in surrounding area of Jalana, and in Nahargarh Wildlife Sanctuary also. So, and there are like almost 35 leopards in Jalana forest area. So, because of this high number of population of this leopard, these leopards directly, regularly move into human settlements and create some problem. So you can see this thing. This was a video, but I think Zoom will not support that video format, and it will go into buffering. So I just take a screenshot. You can see leopard in human settlement, and people are scaring. Then this is another photograph of the same leopard. Leopard sitting in balcony. So this is all. Then this leopard was in metal trap. Okay, so there are poachers were there. Leopards were entering human settlements, and you can see there's a leopard here, and these people are killing this leopard. So such incidents were happening on regular basis in Jalana. So we started this project, and these were the main points. Like, first of all, we have identified the critical zones of human-animal conflict. Then we need to find out the gaps. What are the gaps in management from forest, and what are the major problems in coming in the management of leopards. So after this thing, we have made a
Joy, if you could just talk more about the people, the leopards. I mean,
I'm coming on that thing. I'm coming on that thing. Then we have made this map, this scale, where threat level is highest, high and moderate, and minimum and nil. And after that, we just started surveys and interacting with people. This was the main thing what we started in Jalala, and still conflicts are still there. There was a conflict last week also, and we have photograph of that conflict also, where a leopard entered into human settlement and picked up a pet dog. So these are the photograph of that leopard. Okay. So these were the problems, and then we started this project, and after that, these conflicts regularly came down, and now still we are working since 2016. We are working on these conflict mitigation techniques. Nakul, you want to add something more?
Yep, sure. So I think when we started Project Pardis, it was an interesting piece because it has gone through a chronological order. We had this entire flow of activities that we were performing, identifying whether we even have to do this project or not, doing those surveys, going to those particular areas and speaking to people. Speaking to people as we speak, I think most of us, all the conversations that I've heard as of now in the webinar, there's one common fact that creating a local community, which is going to be a first shield in terms of extracting the piece of information that is required and delivering what is expected out of the project, you really need to have the local community. So starting from there, we worked on the rural front first. We were absolutely on the villages, on the boundaries of Jhalana, Nargar Biological Park, and the rest of the places. In there, Jaipur, you have a very interesting and scattered forest, patches of forest in multiple areas, and you have leopards everywhere. So when we started off, it was interesting, and at that point of time, we did a lot of mitigation procedures and techniques with these particular villages and with the people out there. apparently there is so we still get to see the sight of the leopards in these villages, but we don't get to find the level of conflicts that we used to find earlier. It has gone down. Now leopards are moving into different directions. They're coming into different areas, like what Joy just talked about, that a leopard picked up a pet dog from a particular area which we never touched earlier. It was never been reported that there's a leopard coming or intruding in that particular area. It is a new set of information for us. So now our next plan of action is to go there. We have visited the place twice. Now we are planning to set up our mitigation techniques over there. We are not willing to rescue the leopard from there because that's not actually a rescue. We just want to distract the leopard from that particular area. So we are trying to work on the ideas that we can place to do this, to bring this down.
Thanks so much, Joy and Nakul. Nakul, when you talk about this as a thing that you all have been seeing for such a long time, what was your main approach adopted to address this situation out here?
I think the
community or.
Yeah, our primary approach was involving with the community, because I think, that's my very strong belief that until you don't have the local community in action with you, if they are not part of your plan, you will not be able to deliver any sustainable project. If you talk about conservation, it will not work. Even with if forest department is working on a project and local communities are not with them, it is extremely difficult to deliver the expected results. So it's very important. First thing we did was we started speaking to these people. There were a lot of, obviously, in the initial phase, there are a lot of aggressive discussions, heated arguments, and all that jazz that has happened in the beginning. But then people started understanding. We started deploying certain people over there from the community. We picked up people and who had that keen interest, and we spoke to the influential people in the villages, so that we have some authority as well in terms of explaining things. Or if we going there, we can gather. So these people can assist us in gathering people for the exercises or any activity that we want to perform, Nukkad Natak, or addressing the entire crowd, explaining them about leopards, because people don't understand Tendua. They won't get it. What is Tendua? What is Bagheera? They won't get it. They call it Sher. They call it Sher. They call it Cheetah. So the first thing is awareness in terms of explaining them the difference, explaining them what exactly we are dealing with here, and it's not that dangerous. You need to understand there's a lot of encroachment that has happened in these areas. So apparently, speaking to these people, we have to indirectly or amalgamate information and place it that this is not this is you have intruded. It's you who are the intruders here. It's not the leopard. So there's an interesting message that goes out. But it has worked really well for us because we have these villages under our loyalty club now. So it's working well. We get a lot of information, and it's a great assistance in terms of sighting, in terms of any wildlife crimes that is happening in these areas. We get that piece of information first, and we assist Forest Department with that as well. So it worked well with us as of now. So it's going well. The community, local community, is the first primary thing. I think I've heard. What all I've heard as of now, I think everybody believes in local contacts, local community piece. I think that's the primary action for any conservation project.
Absolutely, Nakul. In fact, the whole idea of these talks were also on those people talking about how important it is to work with community. Joy, I'd like to get back on the topic of when we're talking about Jhalana. What are the issues that are plaguing it right now? What are problems kya hai wahan par? Kis tarike ki takleefein hain? When we were talking some time back, you were also talking about issues, in the terms of less field staff there. So could you just highlight a few of those?
So as we see Jhalana's map, you can see that. Wait a minute, where's the map? Okay. So you can see Jhalana is basically 3 ridges, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So what we have done, we have started leopard safari in these 2 Tehri regions, in these 2 valleys. There is a leopard safari. So on regular basis, leopards are being disturbed in this area, and then they are moving out. So there was a problem that field staff was very less in the initial stage of the project, and then after that, this whole area is covered with Prosopis juliflora. Then there was a problem of this wildlife feeding thing. Humans are coming inside forest area and they are feeding wildlife. Then there was a problem of water. Then there was a problem of human interference inside forest area. They are coming inside and they were doing all sort of illegal activities. After the project, Forest Department also focused on this area, and now the safari which they are running, that safari is now a controlled safari. Forest is being cleaned. There are cameras placed in Jhalana forest area. There are thermal cameras and 24/7 monitoring is being done. Then recently we have cut off all the Prosophis juliflora in zone number 1, and we have planted all native trees in that area. So there was a time when Jhalana was a nightmare for any forest official to be posted. Like it was a nightmare. But now Jhalana is growing like anything. But still there is a problem, like leopard population is much more than the area, because area is only 23 square kilometers. And after Jhalana, you can see this is a Galta forest, and it is adjoining forest with Nahargarh Wildlife Sanctuary. But there is a highway, a tunnel going from this area. So there is a problem of habitat fragmentation. We are still working on how to make a corridor from Jhalana to Galta. If we can make that thing, leopards can easily cross to Galta, and then the population problem and inbreeding problem will also be solved.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy. So also tell us about this whole the initiative that you all started, which was called iCow, and how has it helped reduce the cattle depredation? From what I've read, it's also you all have got inspired from Botswana. That's what I've heard. So could you just talk about that?
iCow technique was a very interesting technique. It was it was motivated from Botswana only. Debo was the person who initiated this thing, and he told me, like, Joy, do you know about iCow technique? I said no. So he told me, like, you should read it and we can apply this thing in Jhalana. So we have painted this kind of eyes on the rump of cattle that include cow, buffalo, camel, and goats. And after this thing, this was a very common technique. You can say it is already present in nature. If we see a spectacle cobra, we can see a spectacle, that is a defense mechanism. And if we see this 4-eyed butterfish, so there is an eye here also. And if we see this thing, owl butterfly, so there is also a defense mechanism of this butterfly. So we just took this thing in consideration and painted these kind of eyes on cattle. These are the number of cattle we painted. And after this thing, there was an interesting thing, like we have painted only on half animals. If a village has 100 cattle, then we have painted it on 50 cattle and 50 were remained without eye. And we have monitored this thing for almost a year. And not even a single incident, not even a single cattle was killed by a leopard, which was painted with these eyes. The basic funda was that all these big cats, they attack on their prey from behind. Okay, and if they see these big eyes there, so they will think there is a chance of collision. So they will stop there, and this 5 or 6 second time is, I think the surprise time is sufficient for them to run out there. And this thing was done just to make sure that wild animals should be dependent on a wild herbivore only. We just did this thing to reduce the dependency of leopards on cattle, because they were regularly coming outside in village areas and in settlement, and they are taking their dogs and cattle. So this was a technique.
Thanks so much, Joy, for that. Nakul, also, you were talking about communities, and we've been talking throughout this session of why communities are so important. So how has involving community helped, in managing the conflict situation around Jhalana?
See, the point was when we initially started the project, Pardis, we did this entire survey into multiple areas, and these community views based out of these villages where we have these majority of these incidents happening of human leopard conflict, plus the cattle lifting that used to happen. It used to happen in these particular villages specifically. So what we did when we went to speak with them, when we went for the survey and we gathered the information, how many times you've seen a leopard and how many times a leopard has attacked a human or cattle. We gathered this particular set of data, and then after that we realized that if we have to go and speak to these guys, we need to have someone's a kind of a familiar face for them. So we have to create that particular base, because if we go and tell them, listen, you should not hate this animal, or start placing tracks or traps for these animals, they really get offended, because I remember I was speaking to a lady, and I told her that, listen, this animal is not wrong, and she was so angry because this leopard picked up a calf that one of the calves that she was raising, and she was extremely emotionally attached with that. So she was so upset and she was so angry, and it was very difficult to convince. So we created a plan under this project, which was more about identifying troopers in the villages. So these are the set of people who are fun, who are curious. These are like the young chaps of the village who are extremely curious in terms of wildlife. When we used to come to the villages, they used to come and sit with us and talk to us, what are you doing and what exactly is leopard all about. They gather those piece of information. So apparently when we started talking to these guys, when we started talking to the folks in the villages, we started identifying these people who can be a part of our trooper program. So when we made them troopers, we kind of trained them on leopard tracking and the rest of the things, and then we made them the faces and the speakers for us, who can talk to the villagers, who can go and speak to the villagers and say that, okay, listen, you don't have to be afraid. We have to work on mitigation techniques. Please support these guys. So they apparently created that space for us to penetrate and explain them exactly what we are trying to do, and it really worked well for us. The trooper plan is still active. We still have this entire nexus or network of troopers, and they are extremely good. They are extremely good. Some of them has come up to a different level altogether, being the leopard trackers these days. They have gone. Some of them has gone on some assignments with me in terms of conservation for in the areas like Chawai. They've been really good, and this is very supportive. If you have local communities who are living in that area, they can be the best set of people, best eyes that you want, and best speakers that you want to communicate the message through. So I think developing communities always works. Even for an example, when Joy talks about iCow now, trust me on that. On a lighter note, if you go to a village in the night and you get to see a cow with eyes on the back, you'll freak out. I'm sure the leopards would too. So it used to be very effective, and these are the set of people who used to paint it for us. So when Joy talks about these 50 cattle, and we had a set of volunteers that used to go there into the village to talk about it. These volunteers, these local folks, they used to assist us with these iCow paintings that we used to. Even the communities, the villagers, the person who owns that cattle used to print it on his own cattle. We went to that particular extent, and that's because of the local connect. That's because of the communities that we get in touch with. So it really helped.
Thanks so much, Nakul, for that. Also, I think we all now remember that recently, very recently, there was an image, also a video which got very popular. It went viral from Jalana, where a leopard and a male nilgai, if I'm not wrong, were drinking water together. So it was absolutely viral. Everyone was talking about absolute coexistence, but I know the fact is something else. Would you all want to talk about that? It'd be nice.
Oh, why not? So it was an interesting piece. So I've seen this picture on social media, and it was in the newspaper as well. I think it's a positive media coverage. It's not with the.
This is a photograph.
Yeah, so this is the photograph. So people were saying that a predator and prey drinking water from the same pool. I mean, yes, why not? I mean, it's a good information to cascade to the world. But obviously, I mean, if you see this picture, you know it's a male, fully grown blue bull, and it's not under the leopard's prey grade to eat. So they will not prey on this particular animal, but it's a good message to go out. Apparently, everybody was talking about that it's such a rare scenario, but it's not really a rare scenario. You can see it several times in such places. Jhalana has a great population of blue bulls, and this is a fully grown male, which leopard will not attack anyway. So yeah, it's a good one. It's the message was, I think the message was good, that people think that जानवर में भी इंसानियत है. So it was a good message, but I'm happy with that. But I think there's a drift that has happened since the beginning. So the drift is about what do you call it? The news that used to come into the newspapers or in the news channels. When we say that a leopard has attacked a human, that used to be a very popular news in the newspapers. Apparently, there's a balance now. So we also talk about sightings or a good thing or something like this. It's not only about the wildlife attacks or human leopard conflict or something of that sort. So news is balanced right now. So we are okay with this news. So I think people who knows something about wildlife conservation, or anybody who understands this, they know that this photograph is not something which is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, Nakul or Joy, anyone can pick this question up. I mean, what is the relation that media shows towards when it comes to reporting about Jhalana, in a detailed way? What kind of stories do we see?
See, we have done a media workshop also to just for the awareness generation of media. Like, we don't want a headline called "Pukhar Darinda तेंदुआ घूम रहा है जयपुर में." तो इस टाइप की हेडलाइंस को हटाने के लिए और हमने रिड्यूस करने के लिए we have done a media workshop, and we have called all the major media houses in that workshop. This workshop was organized in association with Forest Department only. So we are happy, like Bison Forest Department is actually showing interest in leopards and conflict issues, and they are actually working for that thing. So this was the thing that we have done, and now that thing is reduced a bit, but we need some more workshops on state level, because it is controlled in Jaipur but not in Rajasthan. So like, we are planning for that thing. Nakul, you want to add something?
Yes, Joy, I completely agree. So, I mean, these workshops have been extremely helpful for us in places like Jaipur. But a small drift, if you go look into the state, it's not the same set of mindset that people have in the other media houses, which is spread across in different part of the states. There are places like Rajsamand, there are places like Jawai. Jawai is still not that much, but even Rajsamand, you get to see some really emphatic news on leopards, Khunkar, Darinda, रातों को घूमता है, घर से बाहर लोग 2 बजे से 4 बजे तक घर के बाहर नहीं निकलते. But there are so many these set of news. A leopard moving out of your periphery, moving around the area, it's not a conflict, like as the people said in the previous conversation. It's not a conflict. It's a regular thing. He's strolling around. He's going to do that. He's an explorer. He will definitely do that. It's a leopard. There, you don't have to make a fuss out of it. Who would like to roam around in a village at 2 o'clock in the night? Nobody, right? So you don't have to really hype it so that people are scared. People get scared, and then they get to see leopards, and they consider a leopard a threat, even if a leopard is not doing anything. And then apparently there would be some news. They would probably put some, if there's a carcass, they would try to poison that carcass, or they would like to set up some traps, necessary things, just to make just because they consider that it's a threat that's roaming outside the house. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it really doesn't work that way. And media plays a vital role in this. So we have managed to pull it off well in Jaipur, but definitely we need to have some more consideration to the other part of the states, and I think other states as well. I'm sure people will be experiencing the same thing in the other states.
Thank you so much, Nakul. So that brings us to end of the second day, all the 3 sessions, and it was such an amazing discussion with all the 6 panelists. A lot of insights, a lot of interesting inputs, a lot of things to learn from here. I hope all the panelists are here so that we can just take a few questions. I know we are like almost closing into 12:30. We could take a few questions that have come in. Are all the panelists here? Meanwhile, Nakul, just quickly, was that a camera trap image? Somebody asked, because everyone is now like, we've made the image go more viral. So was it a camera trap image? Joy?
No, it
No,
was a captain.
it was clicked by a photographer,
Yeah.
Dhirendra Godha. He's a good friend of mine and a good wildlifer. He
Yeah.
clicked the image.
Interesting. So, okay, from Tehri, do we have?
Virat, Sanjay here. I'm online.
Oh, great, great, great. I think Coco had to, Dr. Coco Rose had to leave, right? I mean, Dr. Rose had some meetings.
Sure, I haven't checked.
Okay. So, meanwhile, I mean, there is a question to you, Sanjay Sundiji. The question is from Sandeep Hasurkar. He's saying, does the intense media attention and public engagement, particularly in incidents of wildlife management, hinder or facilitate a rational and long-term decision-making in administration?
So I think, what you said is probably right. So it goes both ways, right? So the fact is that if you have a media that is given to sensationalization, then very clearly it hinders conflict, mitigation of human-wildlife conflict. But if you have media that is sensitive, they are in fact a very crucial change agent in ensuring that the public thinks of conflict in a positive sense and not a negative sense. And in a manner of speaking, in Uttarakhand, what we have done is we have relied very heavily on lessons learned in Mumbai. And in fact, we've had Virat and Ranjit Jadhav come to Uttarakhand and take media workshops in Dehradun, in Tehri, and in Pauri. And in all the places, the response from the media has been, oh, we didn't know this. And we have seen a change in how they report. There are still challenges. A lot of the people tell us that, even if we write sensible pieces, our editors want us to sensationalize it. But the fact remains that if you can get the media on your side and you can get them to report sensibly, then it goes a very, very long way to shaping public opinion.
Thanks, Sanjay ji. Next question was, actually, it was to both everyone, actually. Do people who experience leopard conflict ask that the leopard be translocated or even killed? How do you resolve the conflict in this case? Would Dr. Ramgaonkar, if he's there, would he want to take this question? Or Sanjay ji, you could also answer.
I don't know, is Coco there? No, he's not there. So the thing is that absolutely there is a significant amount of pressure once a human life is taken. And in fact, in the last 4 days in Uttarakhand, there have been permissions given to kill 3 leopards. The thing is very simple, this is what we tell everybody. This is what Coco was also saying. At wartime, which is when a person has been killed, when a leopard has actually killed a human being, going and trying to talk to the people and trying to change public opinion is futile. So the thing is that if you have a situation that a leopard has killed a human and has done so repeatedly in a particular landscape, who are we sitting in cities to say that this leopard should not be trapped and translocated, right?
Yeah.
Lots of challenges. We know that. How do you know it is the same leopard? How do you know that, whether it's the same leopard killing humans or whether it's different? There are lots of issues. We know that. But the fact remains that if the intervention is proactive, then this situation can be avoided. One of the things that I think is very interesting to note is that, the one of the myths that exists is that if a leopard attacks a human, then it repeatedly attacks humans in its landscape. In the research that we did about 5 or 6 years ago, we actually found that in 87% of the cases, the leopard attack on a human had happened only once in a 5-year period. So effectively what the data showed us that repeated attacks were not really taking place. So when we showed this to the villagers, they were shocked. They said, oh, is this so? We said, yes, it is so. So some of the attacks, it does not mean that if a leopard has killed a human being, and there could be many reasons for it, accidental, or we don't even understand why the human death has occurred or injury has occurred. But it doesn't mean it's going to repeatedly attack. In fact, one of the things I did during our talk is I shared, we prepared these booklets, which is called Busting Myths About Leopards. both in Hindi and in English. They are available online for free distribution. And I put the links on the chat while we were giving our discussion. I hope that helps to answer your question.
Dr. Ramgaonkar, would you want to answer the same question? Would you want to give a perspective on it? Mayuk, he messaged saying that he's not able to unmute. Just can you check? Meanwhile, again, there's another very interesting question for Sondhi ji and Dr. Rose. Thank you for your insights. Although Mr. Rose has been imparting training among your team members and Mr. Sondhi facilitating such training across different landscapes, apart from these, is there a need for organized and structured training for IFS officers who are involved in day-to-day groundwork decision with varied topics and more frequency, focusing on technical skills like animal behavior, etc., as well as softer skills like how to handle crowd when they are at peace, how to maintain teams' morale in community engagement program?
Right. So I think Coco is not here, so I can answer this. So
yes.
Absolutely, there is a need, and actually this has already been configured into when IFS probationers join the Uttarakhand Forest Department, they go through, like, I think it's a 18 or a 24-month probation period. And this, human wildlife conflict training has already been included in that curriculum. And I think going forward, both the soft skills part as well as the hard skills are actually going to be taught to the fresh officers who are joining the Uttarakhand Forest Department at every level. So not just IFS probationers, but also range officer training, also forest guard training. So the plan is to introduce this into the curriculum at all levels of the forest department. So it's already, I think, planning for this is already happening.
Okay, so this is for Snowy and Dr. Ramgaonkar. Are you guys there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So when it comes to outreach program targeting different stakeholders like resident, police force, fire brigade, forest officers, etc., which are those areas you would still like to work more on in depth? In other words, what are the few gaps on which you will be working in the next few years? This is from Sanjay Anjanekar.
Dr. Ramgaonkar could answer. Is he here? Okay. I'll go.
Yeah, I'll just add a point of view. Yeah. See, these things are continuous efforts, and we cannot say that one area is taken care of and we move to the next area. So all the stakeholders have to be continuously engaged, and particularly if you talk about the communities keep changing. There are incidences when you go to a housing society and you meet a person who is a new resident there. He doesn't know what has happened over the last 5 years. So community engagement also has to be on a continuous basis, because people have got very short memories, and whenever some incident happens, then all of a sudden there is a panic. Even if you had previous sessions in that area, the panic is still there. So we have to have a continuous sessions and continuous engagement with the community. And moreover, of course, there are other stakeholders which have to be engaged, particularly the police department. We could not engage police department to the level which we would have liked. But Snowy would like, I think, explain that in recent times we have tried hard to get across to police departments, particularly the police stations that are surrounding the national parks and that can see high likelihood of conflict incidences. So we have tried to reach out to the police also and had some sessions with them. So I think it has helped in some incidences. We can see the results also, that whenever there is an incident, now at least all the agencies know what to do in such a situation and what exact kind of help forest department wants from them. So be it crowd control, be it some equipments which we don't have, like maybe a fire tender, a ladder, which have to climb on the high rise sometimes. So those kind of things, agencies are aware that what kind of efforts they need to make when they reach a incident of conflict.
So
please, you can add some points too.
Yes, I would like to add 2 points. Am I audible?
Yes, Snow, you are.
Like Dr. Ramgavkar very correctly pointed out, that it's a challenge coordinating with certain, especially police, even fire department, but especially police, because they are people who are honestly really busy. So getting out time from their schedule is a little difficult. So it's tricky to manage having sessions at times with them. But we have overcome that slowly. I wouldn't say it is completely smooth right now, but it's a challenge for them also, of course. And secondly, second challenge is dog population in Bombay, because there are so many people, like Dr. Abgawkar is saying, there are new residents coming in. So views are different. People are animal feeders. They want to give like 60 to 100 dogs are being fed in certain areas. So this is a challenge, what's happening now. And with waste management, the BMC has to be very efficient. So dealing with this is also something that we are looking forward to. So yeah, these are two things.
Interesting. We move to Joy and Nakul. There is this question, how have you assessed iCow success? How many livestock did you implement on in how many villages? Nakul and Joy?
Yeah.
Uh,
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was saying is there's a question. How have you assessed iCow success? How many livestock did you implement on in how many villages?
There was a slide there. You can see that. These are the number of animals that we have applied ICAO on, and they were in almost 89 villages near Jalana and Nahargarh Wildlife Sanctuary. 89 villages or colonies.
Okay.
So
And not
I
even a
single.
single incident was there where a cattle was killed by a leopard, and we have not seen a single incident where ICAO was there and leopard killed that animal.
And trust me,
Yeah, Nakul.
trust me on that. I was surprised. I mean, I was not in a favor of exercising this because Joy was quite prominent that he was quite he was focusing that he wanted to do this, and I was like, I don't think so. It's gonna work. It's a Sundarban tactic. It has worked there, but might won't work over here. I mean, see, I tell you what. If you go, I mean, we used to visit these places. Specifically in the night time to observe the activities because we were mapping leopards from each region, what all leopards are there. We are taking the camera trap images, matching the results, identifying which leopard stays in which region, and then you get to see a white cow with black eyes in absolute moonlight. It's scary. It's not a good sight. So I mean, I was not really a big fan of this, but apparently the results were amazing. We didn't get to see any casualty with these particular animals, and it was surprising. So the success rate was quite emphatic. I mean, if I can say that it's 100% success, it was 100% success rate. I won't be lying. It worked well. I still want to. My recommendation is still to continue with this activity and see if it's working because I think we have a good data, but I think we don't have enough data right now to claim it as one of the finest exercise for anyone, or probably put it on the best practice. As of now, it's the best practice that people can follow, people can take up with. But so we want to do more of this exercise to evaluate the success rate. But as of now, it's 100%.
Interesting.
We cannot rely on only one technique when it comes on leopard. Leopards are highly adaptable animals. So we have applied this ICAO technique, then halogen technique, then moving LED light technique. We have experimented that thing also. That also worked. If you place a moving LED, वो दिवाली पे lights आती है ना पट्टे वाली, so that regularly moves. So leopard उससे घर के अंदर नहीं आएगा. It will not enter in your house. So we have used moving LED light technique also, and we have made metal sheds also. So all these techniques together gave us a good result. So you cannot rely on one technique. You need a regular intervention and a regular new thinking.
Right. Interesting. Dr. Ramgaonkar, Sandeep Hasurkar has asked this question to you, and this is something that keeps coming up again and again. Does anthropomorphization of specific animals by naming them and giving them human characteristics in the public and social media narrative have a beneficial or a detrimental impact in effective wildlife management?
Yeah, I think this is a very important issue that we have raised. And the effects of naming animals or humanization of these animals, particularly if they are free-ranging animals, then it is negative. If the animals are in a zoo for a lifetime, then it probably serves some purpose for management to name them. But when an animal is a free-ranging animal, and naming that animal is not appropriate, because animal is performing certain ecological role in that area. It is not that that particular animal only will perform that particular role. Any other animal would, of that species will perform the same role. So sometimes it is detrimental because it sensationalizes the issue and it attaches certain kind of emotions to that which may not be very scientific way of handling the thing. So we have seen this repeatedly in the media also. It takes a different level of proportion when the animals are named. So in my opinion, whenever we are talking about free-ranging animals, we should stick to the codes that are well recognized by scientific institutions, the pattern of naming them, because it serves more purpose than naming them on, say, humanized kind of names.
Yeah.
But if the animals are being kept in a lifetime care facility, like in zoos, permanent kind of rescue center where the animal is not likely to be released back in the wild. So in those cases, I think for managerial point of view also, naming them may serve some purpose. Like there are different schemes, like there is animal adoption scheme, for example, in zoos as well as in rescue centers. People are coming forward to fund the stay of those animals in that facility. So in those particular cases, I think it serves the purpose. But in free-ranging animals, I don't think it is an appropriate strategy to follow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramgaonkar, for giving such an interesting and straight answer. Joy and Nakul, this one is for you. When you pitch to the villagers that it is actually they who are encroaching, is it well taken? While the statement is completely true, I mean, how do the people say? This is the exact question that Madhumay Malik has asked.
So yes, it's a very good question. It's a very good question, and it's a very conflicting question. So apparently, initially it was not well taken, and we do not go direct with this particular statement. We cannot do that. But apparently, since almost a year and a half, they know it. They say it by themselves that when we talk to them about it, this is their house. This is where they're supposed to live. You know, you're living beside a jungle, and this was the house that you have right now was a jungle once upon a time. They say that we know that, but we are living here since last 30, 40 years now. It's our place, it's our home. And we have to accept that fact. We cannot do anything about it until there's some super strict action coming out, but that's not going to happen overnight. So we talk to them and they accepted that this is a place where they're staying since last 40 years, not a legal land, but they know it. They know it completely. They know it now that it's the Leopard's house that they have acquired this space. And that's where we put the punchline that because you've taken up their place, you have to learn how to live with it. So this is something that works with us. But yes, definitely it was not easy way to. There's no easy way to handle this particular situation. When you get into this, if you get into a conflict with this particular conversation, you have to make sure that you need to get rescued. Yeah.
The key was our trooper program. Our troopers were the key. Because they were the people who were living inside that village. They were the localites. So उस village जितने भी लोग थे, they were their chacha, mama, tau. So you choose one person from a village and he will do that job for you.
Not only that, I think there's one more very important thing in terms of speaking or transmitting our message to the villages. It was very difficult for us because we were aliens to them. These people were not liking be intruding in their area, talking about it. So we did a lot of exercise. We did nukkad nataks. Initially, they were not very successful, but then we changed the entire casting. So we made the villagers do the act. So when we go to a village there, we have this trooper who is the main lead of that particular Nukkad Natak, and then we have people from the villages and from the same village, and they are doing that entire Nukkad Natak. It was a brilliant set of awareness when we made that switch. So apparently it assisted us. It assisted us really well. So post that, you can see there are people talking about it. Even like Snowy showed a brilliant flyer of how they set up these warning signs for the leopard piece and all. So we made a similar piece here for Project Partners, and it was in two languages, Hindi and English. And we have this Hindi flyers in most of the villages. We have pasted it over there. We have gave a bundle to our troopers so that they can go and distribute in the houses as well. So it was taken really well. People knew about leopards. They knew the name. They moved from cheetah to tendua. I think that was a major shift that assisted us. So the communication went really well, and we decided to stay with them. Literally, when we decided to work on this particular project, we were staying with them for a week. We never used to come back home. We used to stay there, sleep in the village, pick up a house, go out to the roof, and stay there with them. And they accepted us after a specific span of time. They accepted us because we are sitting with them, we are eating with them. That really worked well for us in terms of communicating a message and delivering it appropriately.
Virat,
Thank you so much.
Virat, I just want to come in here. I just want to add to what you said. Is in Tehri, what we had done is we were doing a lot of the education communication through the kids. So we had a program running in schools which was called Guldar Ke Dagadiya, which in the Tehri language means Friends of Leopard. And they were doing Nukkad Natak, and we actually got the kids to perform in front of the governor of Uttarakhand during Wildlife Week. We brought them all to Dehradun. And we actually also made a small film, 2 small films with the children, and performing in Dehradun, in front of the governor, in front of the whole audience. You cannot imagine how motivated the kids were. And I still remember when they came to Dehradun the previous evening, and I talked to them and I said, "Are you guys nervous?" And they looked at me and said, "Nervous? What for? I mean, we are confident, we've been doing this, we know the messaging, don't worry." And they did it so well, you cannot imagine. But getting the kids involved was such a huge, win for us, because the whole community sort of backed them because the kids are doing it.
Right.
In fact, I posted links for these. We made short films with the children for what they did in Raj Bhavan, and I posted them on the chat mode, so they can be viewed on YouTube and even used for training.
That's just a very good point. I couldn't agree more. I think getting the next set of generation ready for conservation or making them aware of these pieces is extremely important. And I think connecting with kids on that, I think it's a job well done. Yep.
Sanjay ji, just that you mentioned something, I would just want to ask one small thing. When you said Guldar Ku Dagadiya, right? Dugadiya. Yeah, am I getting the pronunciation right?
Yeah, Guldar Ke Dagadiya. That's right.
Guldar Ke Dagadiya. How important is it also to use this, the local language in all this? I mean, you could have easily named it Love Your Leopard or something like that, Why is it very important to be that specific?
So I think it's really, really important in 2 ways. The local people in that area very much understand what Guldar Ke Dagadiya means. Okay. So for them, like, it's a sense of, you're talking in our language. Okay. Believe it or not, it works very effectively in other areas also. So if we go to Kumaon and we show this film, almost everybody will turn around and say, "Ye Dagadiya kya hai? Guldar ka Dagadiya, what does it mean?" So the fact that it's also a starting point for a conversation in other parts of Uttarakhand. And in Tehri, of course, everyone understands what Guldar Ke Dagadiya means. So absolutely crucial to communicate in their own local language.
So last, to sum up this amazing discussion that we've had for almost now 3 hours, close to 3 hours, is I would like each one of you all to just in one sentence, if you all can just say that what would be the key thing to do to promote living with leopards. I'm not going to give you all 2 sentences. That is one sentence that you believe is very important, is the key. Okay.
You're cutting in and out, I guess.
Virat, can you just repeat your question? Hello all. I think Virat's internet has cut out. Sorry for that glitch. What Virat essentially, I think, was asking is, if we can end this session with one last question, which is, if each of you can just in one sentence tell us what is the take-home message to promote living with leopards in wherever it is in India. Start with you, Joy.
Yeah. Can you please repeat the question? The voice
Sorry,
is not clear at my
I'm
end.
back. I'm
Okay.
back. I think there was some network issue. So what we are saying is that each one, we are just asking the last question for the day. What would, according to you, in one sentence, what would be the key thing that should be done to promote living with leopards? In one sentence, what would you believe? One key factor, each one of you.
Okay, for me, it's more like one statement would be like leave them alone.
Okay,
Yeah.
Joy.
For me, it's very difficult to answer because I think leave them alone will be the perfect thing, but you cannot leave them alone when they are entering in your settlement, in your houses. So this is a, I think, hypothetical question.
Give you a same as above option.
I think your net is not working, Virat.
I'm saying I'm not going to give you a same as above option.
You cannot pass it, Joy. You have to give a statement. You have to go on.
Okay, then leave them alone and stop encroaching in their houses.
Okay. Snowy, next.
Yes, I think I would just say 3 words: understanding, communicating, and coordinating well.
Okay. Dr. Ramgaonkar?
Yeah, I would say to everybody who is living around that area that they should stop thinking that by making space to leopards, allowing that leopard to share their territory, they are doing any favor to the animal. So that mentality has to go.
Thank you so much. Sanjay ji, you can get 2 options because Coco is not there, so maybe you can take a chance at that.
I'll go with just one option, and I'm not going to deviate. I'm just going to reiterate what we have already said. Learning to live with leopards. That's it. This
Okay.
what you use, how you get people to learn to live with leopards can vary from place to place. But if people can learn to live with them, that's what is required. I mean, everything else follows.
Great. That's what happens. That's how you become wise when you live in the hills, right? You've answered it perfectly. Thank you so much, everyone. Dr. Coco Rose, Sanjay Sondhi, Snowy, Dr. Ramgaonkar, Joy, Nakul. This was an amazing discussion. It went on. I know we've reached the time limit and again, but it was amazing talking to each one of you. Thank you, everyone who participated in this. Mayuk, do you want to say a word?
Thank you, Virat, and thank you, everyone. This is something that we were really looking forward to, and I'm so happy that we got to hear such wonderful stories and insights from all of you. And we've got this amazing participation from so many people. We've got over 700 people now viewing it through different streams, and so thanks to all of you for engaging so well. And look forward to more such events, and where we get to discuss more of the nitty-gritties of how we learn to live with wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.